the Micah Parsons deal might be a little more complicated than you think because of how Parsons is perceived in the building. Now, do you remember when there was a radio report? It was like a Cowboys friendly
105.3
station.
The Fan. The
Yeah, okay.
flagship station.
Yeah.
They've had enough
And
of
then
him. They're getting
and,
tired of him.
listen, that report has not gone anywhere. That feeling is still there from what I understand. So, okay, you've got a great player. He is one of the five best defensive players of football, maybe three. His versatility, and you factor in his age too. You might say you can't find three players better than Micah Parsons, but there are some concerns about him in the building with just how he goes about his business. He's a hard worker. It's not that he just rubs some people the wrong way. So that report a couple of years ago was right on the money, but you still have to pay him. So when you pay a guy like this, what you're saying is we are willing to pay our best player top dollar. You're not saying to the locker room, be like this, personality wise, be like this production wise, but not necessarily around the building. So I think that probably complicates it a little bit. He's not the most popular guy at the start.
It was about a year ago that first started to bubble up, and my reaction was, you know what, if you got a problem with Micah Parsons, it's your problem, because when you have a great player, when you have one of the best defensive players in football, you find a way to coexist with him. They found a way to coexist with Lawrence Taylor in New York. You find a way to coexist with Micah Parsons. And then during the season, there was reporting from NFL Network that the Cowboys have discussed the possibility or entertaining the possibility. The most recent thing is there has at least been some internal discussions about whether to pay Parsons or trade him for a king's ransom. And Michael, when they canceled Jerry Jones' annual all the reporters come onto my bus and kiss my ring press conference that Jerry Jones does every year because he was too busy to do it, as if he's ever too busy to talk about the Cowboys. Like, that's his number one item on the to-do list every day of his life is talk about the Cowboys. There was some speculation, especially because sources were drying up on the folks who cover the Cowboys. Like at the Combine, the people who usually jabber weren't jabbering. There was speculation that something was up, including, and the speculation, again, is just that. But the weird circumstances invited it. What about, and Shereen Williams mentioned this yesterday, what about Micah Parsons, Myles Garrett? You could do straight up, old school Ken Stabler, Dan Pastorini, straight up, nothing else. We get Garrett, you get Parsons. You get to pay Parsons. You've already paid Garrett. We may have to give him a little bit more, but we'll be fine. We remove this guy that, always does that podcast. Like, that's a problem. But if it is for the Cowboys, then that adds into the calculation that we don't want to pay him a massive contract. But anyway, that's all died down. And Jerry wasn't asked any real probing questions on Wednesday about why he didn't speak last week. And they didn't get into the possibility of trading Micah Parsons as far as I know. But I feel like that's still hanging there. And the longer the deal takes, the more it's going to hang there.
Yeah, I think it's there too. As far as that deal straight up, I know Myles Garrett would love it. He'd love to go from the Browns to the Cowboys. Question is, how would Micah Parsons feel about that? Yeah, the Browns, we know they pay, as you said, that Deshaun Watson contract. Any player in the league is saying, yeah, he's not really a good player, but he's got guaranteed money, and that's what we're all looking for. You'll get the money. Would he like to go from this franchise, even though they haven't been, the Browns have never been to the Super Bowl, but even though the Cowboys haven't been in championship contention, conference championship contention in 30 years, it's still the Dallas Cowboys, still a high-profile franchise. The Cleveland Browns, you get traded there, you're not going to win the division next year. You already know that. You're probably not going to make the playoffs next year. The podcast is helped by the Dallas Cowboys Association. Is the podcast helped by the Cleveland Browns? I don't think so.
But you have to wonder how Micah Parsons would process that, because when you're 25 years old and you've been wildly successful at everything you've ever done and your NFL career has gotten off to a great start, I could see him coming up with an explanation as to how he could make it work, that he could be the difference. We were at the Combine last Friday, with Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders, and they both have tricked themselves into thinking that they can turn around a dysfunctional team. And it's kind of, aren't they cute when they have not yet experienced how dysfunctional an NFL team can really be, and that you could be Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, and Lamar Jackson rolled into one, and it's not going to matter. It's not going to overcome the dysfunction. But that's the confidence that you have when you've everything you've ever touched is turned to gold. So maybe I'm the guy that makes the difference in Cleveland. They thought it was going to be Deshaun Watson. Maybe it's going to be me. So, and he doesn't have a no trade clause. Not that, you don't want to trade for him if you're the Browns if he doesn't want to be there, because then he won't sign a contract and he's going to want out. But regardless, back to the original point, it would be easy to get a Micah Parsons deal done if the Cowboys wanted to. So the question is, do they want to? And if they don't, why don't they want to? And is it, Michael, the possibility that they want to get out of the Micah business?
It's a very good question, because everything, if you just look at him on the field, there's nothing to think about. You think about all the things that he's able to do, and from a variety of positions. I mean, really, he can do everything defensively. Everything. He can cover, he can rush. I mean, he's tough, he's strong, he's fast. I mean, everything you want, defensive end, linebacker, whatever you want to call him, edge guy, a disruptor, everything you want him to do, he can do it. So you do wonder if there's something else. I mean, I know that thing is there. There's no doubt in my mind that it's a problem. It's an issue. But how big of an issue? Is it a deal breaker? Or is it just something that they have to monitor and they have to think about every day? They have to tiptoe around it. I know they have tiptoed. Are they done doing that? And if they're done doing that, now we got a different conversation. Now, those rumors about the Cowboys talking to the Titans for the #1 pick in the draft, those take on a different feel, because if you're going to get the #1 pick in the draft, how are you going to get there? You're not going to get there from your own draft position alone. You got to add something else. And so if you're the Cowboys, what do you have of value that the Titans would want? Yeah, I think the Titans would love to have Micah Parsons if you're going to do something like that. So that's the question. Like, how serious are the personality concerns for Dallas when it comes to Micah Parsons?
And again, this all flows from the very uncharacteristic decision of Jerry Jones to not talk to reporters last week at the scouting combine. He has always found time to talk at the scouting combine. This year, he did not. And we're still waiting to see if there really is something big that they were working on. It wasn't the Odigizua contract. It had to be something else, because really at the end of the day, these contracts are not difficult to do when it's time to do them. You sit down and you do them. You have mutual respect and trust with the other side, and you get it done. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.